Chapter 1. Katie Harper closed her eyes as the last lines of Happy Birthday finished and blew out the candles on her cake. She concentrated with every ounce of her being and wished more fervently than she'd ever wished before. More fervently than when she'd been in the middle of her horse phase and been hoping for a pony. More strongly, even, than when she'd thought she'd been in love with Luke Taylor and had tried her first real spell. She squeezed her nails into her palms and bit the inside of her cheek to provide a spark of necessary pain, biting hard enough to draw blood. Wishes could come true. There was magic in thought and intention. Katie knew this, and when she opened her eyes, she expected the world to have changed. It hadn't. The disappointment thumped through her. She saw a flicker of concern on her Aunt Gwen's face and hastily slapped a smile in place. She kept the smile while the cake was cut, while her Uncle Cam gave her a hug and a cheque, and while she thanked everyone in the little group for coming. Her face was beginning to ache by the time her mum and dad were saying goodbye. Her mum kissed her on both cheeks and apologised for the millionth time for rushing away. "It's an early start tomorrow," she said, "and you know I get travel sick." "I know, it's fine." Ruby and David were going on a cruise, their third in 2 years. They were taking their duties as empty nesters seriously, and honestly, Katie couldn't blame them. She hadn't been the easiest teenager to live with. She hugged them both, inhaling the scent of Ruby's perfume and moisturiser. "I'm not staying late either. I'm working tomorrow." "If you're sure," Ruby said, but she was already halfway out of the door. "Positive." Katie was picking up every extra shift going at the Grange, and truthfully, didn't really feel like celebrating her 21st at all. Coming into her power. Now, that would be a day worth shouting about. Katie followed her parents to the door, waving as they walked down the garden path and got into their silver Audi. Gwen had lined the path with candles in jam jars and strung tiny lights through the trees and hedges in the garden. "You're working too hard. I don't like it," Gwen said, coming up behind Katie and handing her a plate. Gwen's tradition when it came to birthday cakes was to produce different flavour combinations, and you had to guess what they were. Katie had caught a whiff of lime when she blew out the candles, and she was expecting something sweet to counteract the acidity, so the honey wasn't a surprise. There was something spicy in there too, but she wasn't sure what. She took another bite and let it dissolve in her mouth. Gwen was looking at her expectantly. "Cardamom?" Katie said. "Close." Gwen shook her head. "Cumin." Katie struggled to keep her face neutral. She was rubbish at the herbal stuff. What kind of witch was rubbish with herbs? A crap one, that was what. Gwen was still talking about her birthday plans. "You only turn 21 once. At least tell me you're going out for a wild night with your friends later, clubbing or something." "It's almost 10 already," Katie said, then felt embarrassed. Lots of people went clubbing at 10 o'clock at night. Maybe not in Pendleford, but still. Later, picking her way through the candle-strewn path, she tried to rationalise. Her birthday was an arbitrary deadline, a day like any other. There was no real reason to expect her powers to come in on her 21st, any more than there had been on her 16th or 18th either. She'd held real hope for her 19th, her final teenage year. But truly, there was no reason to believe that it wouldn't happen tomorrow, or next month, or on a random rainy Thursday in October.